Hi, I'm Max Temkin, one of the co-creators of Cards Against Humanity, and this is Tabletop Deathmatch, a competition to find the next great tabletop game. Last year, over 500 people submitted their unpublished games to a panel of expert judges. 16 finalists came to Gen Con to pitch their games in person, and one of those games will win a first printing paid for by Cards Against Humanity and be named the champion of Tabletop Deathmatch.
My name is Tap.
My name's Chris.
And we did the game Grow. Grow is an organic building game. It falls in the realm of Territorial Acquisition, but it's 3D in the round, completely modular, plays different every single time, and you grow this abstract tree and you fight people over dominance over this tree.
The idea was to merge like an art aesthetic with the actual mechanics. So our game's very much about like the art of the interactive installation almost.
I've been waist deep in the mechanics for months now, and I'm still learning the nuances of the strategies that's possible.
Well, we met each other in school. I remember we were sitting in class together. We ended up making some pretty crappy games to start.
Yeah. The games I enjoy playing, I really enjoy playing pretty much any type of game. Anything that pushes boundaries. Personally, I'm a designer, both digital, purely design. So I'm really about design, I'm really about systems. Anything that can push the interaction between the player and whatever medium they're interacting with.
I'm definitely more interested in like Twitch-based. Meaningful play especially is important to me.
The way the game starts, you have to grow the tree, so you kind of have to nurture it at first. And so it's fun to kind of lull people into thinking you're working together and everyone's kind of growing this tree, and then building up all your resources and then crushing the other opponents kind of at the end and coming in. That's what I like about it. A friend of mine saw our game and told me about the deathmatch, and I talked to Chris and I talked to our other teammate Kyle about it. And we got to talking, we were like, hell yeah. I mean, we had this prototype.
It was a dream.
And it had been sitting around and there was nothing to lose. And it looked really cool, and we've all played Cards Against Humanity. And it was a great opportunity. If we could even just get into the finals like we are now, we knew it would be a dream come true, and it would be really far for the game and for ourselves. And so we just went for it, and here we are. My name is Tap.
My name's Chris.
Unfortunately, our teammate Kyle couldn't come here today, but we're here to present our game Grow. Grow is an organic building game where up to 4 players compete to grow the most flowers on a tree before it reaches the end of its lifespan.
The overall theme of this game was a tree, but we're building from like an abstract art concept. We wanted to bring what we saw in like installation galleries, like Brendan Brathwaite's art in board games. We want to bring that and put it into an actual game that players can experience. So by the end of this game, players are not just competing to have the most flowers and competing to win. They're actually building a piece of art for themselves, something that's meant to be walked around and observed.
A couple of things that really stand out and are unique about it is its modular pieces. And coupled with the meaningful choice of the mechanics, every single playthrough not only feels and plays differently, but actually looks completely different. All the leaves are stacked in stacks of 8, and this represents a season or a growth cycle of the tree. At the end of each cycle, a special event happens, and players can choose to have 4 to 7 cycles. Either 4 have a 30-minute very short casual play, or 7 for a more long strategic playthrough. Each turn, a player must place a branch, which is these square pieces on the tree. Then they have 3 choices. They choose to either place a leaf. When they do this, they gain a bud. When they have buds in their possession, another choice they can choose that turn is to place a bud. After a round, the bud blooms into a flower, and this is how points are actually gained. They can also use beetles, which are both defensive and offensive, to antagonize other players or defend their own flowers and their own points. And so how you actually win the game, once all the life cycles are over, you count up the points that you've earned. And the points are gauged by the actual leaf chain. You take a flower and you count directly back how many leaves that is grown off of a branch or the trunk, and that's how many points it's worth. Such as this right here would be worth 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. You will have a multitude, and the tree will usually be very much larger than this by the end of the game. Whoever has the most points, of course, wins. As we've spoken before, the events are a little bit of a diversifier. They're the only random aspect in our game. They actually simulate each round a natural, random event, such as weather, inclement weather. We have wood rot. The tree can get rotten, locust swarms, stuff like that completely changes and adds a little bit to the game.
But at the same time, some of these events could be helpful. Some of these events could actually give all the players a bonus. The idea was to have the players together, they make this whole tree structure while still competing.
And so ultimately, Grow is a game that is very, very simple and minimalist in all of its mechanics, but very diverse in its gameplay and its encounter. Every single time you play, it's completely different. It takes a lot to master. There's lots of nuance in the gameplay, so there's lots of levels of difficulty and levels of skill that people can gain as they play it. The laser cutter gives it this like hickory campfire smell, and even that's important to the players. They love to smell it, they love to touch it, they love to feel it. The weight is perfect for when they interlock and everything. And it could be a little expensive, but it's really the perfect material for our game, both as a game and as art piece on its own, I guess.
So my question is this, are we kind of looking at the whole game that you guys want to ship? Are there a lot more pieces that would come with it?
This is basically the entire game. The only piece that you guys don't have is the beetle, which is a unit that is used, like we said, for attack and defense.
Could you guys take us through a kind of a simulated turn and show us what a turn of the game would look like?
So at the beginning of each turn, a player will place a branch, and every player has to do this. This is just continues the growth of the tree. And so you can place a branch on any other branch or on the trunk, on any other wood piece. And upon that, they then have three choices. They can either place a leaf, which they will just socket into either any branch, or they can socket it into another leaf. When they do this, they actually gain a bud. When you place the buds, they will take one round, and on your next turn, they automatically bloom into a flower.
And if the opposing players decide to attack that bud, they can do so with their beetles. They expend that resource, and the bud will be destroyed.
And that is the third choice. So you have the three choices. You have the leaf, you have the place the bud, or you have attack or defend with the beetle.
Where are these events coming from? Like, I don't see any components or source of all the dynamic things that you're talking about happening in the game.
Well, the way we set the game up is we use the leaf stacks to represent seasons. So as each stack is depleted, a new season begins. When that season begins, an event is rolled on.
The events are in the rule book.
Okay.
And so we also want to print like kind of a sheet that will be on the outside, always in front of the players, that they will roll a six-sided die and it correlates to the event.
So my other question is, how did you make this? How do you imagine it will be made? Do you know how to make it? And finally, how many trees does it kill to do it?
Well, we actually use laser cutters. We do have access to laser cutters back at our place at home.
So you can make 2 copies, or 3, or maybe even 4 if you're lucky.
If we wanted to, we go with plastics and get die cast made and just run off thousands.
So yeah, it's all laser cut craft grade plywood. That's what we used for our first material because that's what we had at the time. And we've experimented and we've researched going into other materials, but we really like the wood, and not only us, really the players really like the wood because it is a tree, it is a natural game. Seeing the wood grain, feeling it, smelling it, is a really important thing. And so as we move forward, as we go into production, we would like to look into cheaper woods that would be able to hold it because the weight and everything is there. And yeah, recyclable materials, because it would all be natural and biodegradable. How
much do you imagine this would cost?
This one cost about, to produce for us, when we were buying craft sheets of ply, like what you get from Michael's. And so that's not at a bulk price at wholesale at all. It costs about $50, I think. And it's paint and stuff from Home Depot, and it's all handmade by us. But in a larger scale, it would cost, I would assume it would cost quite a bit less, possibly even cut it in half, and then we can mark it up from there.
We'd even scale it in size, make it even smaller or bigger.
Where can you guys talk about the player interaction and all the different points in the game where the player interaction comes in, and what the different choices that each player makes mean for the other players?
The tree needs to grow, because without leaves on the tree, no one can gain points. And so while everyone has to make the choice to kind of, well, they don't have to, but it is usually in the best interest for them to choose to keep the tree healthy, although some people don't necessarily do that. It depends on their play style. And so the choices interact with each other because as you build the tree, everyone is using this tree. And also, of course, the beetle is the big one, which is the beetle destroys flowers, it destroys points. It can also protect points. Diplomacy is a big part of this. As we've play tested in the past, a lot of people, especially underdogs, will team up and they will only use their beetles and only use their resources against one person, for instance, the winner, and they will decide what to grow when and where.
So is this leaf locked off here? If it
No, it would not be. If that was placed, that would have to be placed before the flower bloomed.
So this flower buds here. Can I then place a leaf here at the end of this leaf chain since there's an open slot?
No, you cannot.
Okay.
But if it's already branching and there's a bud at the end of one of the branches, you can still play on the other leaf branch, even though they're all leaves all the way back.
Yes, you can.
Can you guys talk about playtesting this and how you've tested it with people and changed it based on their feedback and stuff?
We ended up experimenting a lot with like beetles, we experimented a lot with flowers, how we locked down certain areas, and the problem initially was like certain zero-sum systems.
Balancing was a big issue, especially with the beetles. Was the mechanics were so simple that it got to the point where a lot of gameplay could be swayed by simple when people decided to attack, and we had to tighten a lot of those mechanics, and we changed it a lot just based on that, really.
And we also had like issues with runaway games. We had to figure out systems, including the events, to prevent that, and having players during certain events actually help the weaker players out more so than the stronger players. So we wanted to have that negative feedback in there to keep the game interesting while still awarding the players that are playing the best.
Thank you guys so much for coming to show us the game. This is really, really, really cool.
Like, I guess, any kind of pitch, it started off really rocky, I thought. Once people were talking, once it was more of a dialogue, I felt like it went pretty smoothly. And I'm pretty confident. I know that we at least made an impression on some people, so even if we don't win the competition overall, I hope maybe they're interested and we can talk to them personally and we can work out something in the future.
Okay, so judges, we heard the presentation, and now we have some time to talk about the game and see what we think. I really like this. I think it's a really beautiful idea and a really beautiful execution.
I think that it will sell very easily. Games that you can put a display copy out like this in the store, like people just want to buy it because it looks cool, if nothing else. And I think that the idea of it as, games as art is really cool too. So
I think Mike probably hit on the biggest problem with this game with his question, and I really want to hear what Sherry thinks about this, which is production. So it has a lot of pieces. I asked them if these were all the pieces in the game, and I know it's not all the pieces in the game because they mentioned there were other buds that the players get. There's a dice, there's that kind of stuff. So there's more stuff we're not seeing even beyond this.
Components are in the book.
Oh, okay. Oh, cool. All right. So they have 56 branches. Yeah.
Yeah. This is
so weight's going to be an issue.
This is a $100 game. I mean,
maybe.
And look, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it being a $100 game as long as they understand that their costs are not going to go down unless they knock it out of the park, because they can't sell enough of them to get their costs down. Like it's a vicious cycle on the game. I would love to see this game in print.
Yeah. I
would love to be able to walk up, assuming it's a good game, which I don't know yet. I would love to be able to walk up and buy a copy of it. My fear is that the amount that they will need to put into making this game will never produce this game.
I see this version of the game as the expensive version, but based on what I saw in the rule book, this could be made into a board game or even a card game, because if you read the way that the pieces interact, even though they lock into each other, and this is a great version, and like you said, it's probably going to be expensive. I wouldn't know how much without pricing it out. I don't know if it's going to be $100. But
what's special about this isn't the mechanics and the rules. I mean, it's a pretty light game, but it's it's just a good toy. Like, you just want to put your hands on it and play with it. And
I don't think it's going to be that expensive to make. I mean,
so the good thing is with these, though, you could do an extrusion, which is pretty cheap with wood, and then
they're all
cut them out
identical.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know whether what we're doing here is trying to enable a game that we think anybody could make, right? Like a card game, or a game that we think it would be very difficult to make, but if they made it, it would be awesome. One of the last questions on our forum is, are they the right person to execute the idea? They're definitely the right person to think of it, and they're definitely the right people to design it. And at the point at which they have to make it, I don't think they've ever left their high school woodcutting shop. That's awesome, but it's going to make it incredibly difficult for them to make this game.
That's a good point.
And but I think there has to be somebody.
There's also a good question of, like, all of this is, if it's a $100 game, like, we can make a beautiful, awesome game that some small number of people will buy. Yep. Or do we choose a game that's not as beautiful, but is still tight mechanics, and we think that will be massively approved of by everybody. So.
There were some good mechanical things going on. So there's the thing that I thought was really cool is there's a tension between everyone wants the tree to grow out so they can get their points, but then you want to claim that tall branch. So that creates a good tension for the players, and there's also like a press your luck component of knowing when to plant your thing, because if you go too early, everyone else will get more points. Like I do think there's some good strategy there.
Making it to the top 16 is crazy. I've never come this far really in anything. And coming this far in games is definitely a stepping stone in my life.
Yeah, it's definitely a goal. You know, there's a lot more to do. We definitely want to push this game.
Not just playing it, but feeling it, and like what the statement that we feel that it makes, being this interesting cross between a game and an art installation. We want people to have it, and we're going to put it out there regardless. And we have lots of people who have said, especially here at Gen Con, that they would love to have their own copy, and we'll see how it goes. And if not, we'll always carry it with us, and we'll always be trying to get it out there and giving it to the people who really want to play this kind of game.